Chasing one more lead might feel like progress, but what if it's actually costing you money, time, and energy that you can't afford to lose? Most agents believe that buying or chasing more leads is the solution to inconsistent closings. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I know you're hustling, you're paying for Zillow and pay-per-click ads, referrals, social media, open houses, whatever it is, yet your bank account doesn't reflect all that effort. And I know it's frustrating, y'all, and it's got to be confusing because you're working your tails off and the money's just not there. And it most likely makes you feel like you're doing everything right, but somehow you still feel like you're falling short. So the real issue isn't your effort. And it's definitely not your hustle, and it's not your talent. The real problem is a misunderstanding of your ROI and the math in your pipeline, because one more lead doesn't automatically equal one more deal. We all know that. In fact, chasing more leads can quietly drain your cash and your energy. But once you understand the hidden cost, and once you learn how to prioritize the right opportunities, it stops being about quantity and starts being more about quality. And when you figure that out, it gives you control over your business instead of your constant stress. So stick around, because once you start looking at leads through this lens, the numbers are going to become very clear to you. You'll quickly see which lead sources are actually profitable and which ones are quietly draining your income. And when that happens, you stop guessing. You start running your business like a business, and that's the goal. Y'all, most agents know what they pay for leads. Hell, they say it like it's a badge of honor. I spend $10,000 a month on Zillow or whatever it is. But you know what they don't do? They don't really calculate what those leads actually cost per closing. And so to do this, you're going to need to find out your actual full cost for each lead source. So for instance, I was talking with a team leader a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me how he was spending $6,000 a month on leads. I was like, cool. How many leads are you getting? I'm getting about 24. How many leads are you closing? Well, I close about 2 a month. But he's like, my per lead cost is $115. I'm like, but your per lead closing is $3,000. Are you making $3,000 off of that client after you close them out and pay all the splits with the agents? I'm like, no. See, they're thinking the per lead cost, but they're not thinking of the per closing of the lead cost. And guys, you also need to factor in things when you're trying to figure that number out, like the platform you're paying them on, right? The advertising cost, if there's a referral fee or a brokerage fee associated with it, because some companies charge more for leads, and the time you actually spend responding and following up. You know, it depends on where you go and who you listen to, but anywhere from 6 to 15 times you have to follow up with the lead, depending on the lead source, for them to even respond to you. 10 minutes a time, 15 times, y'all, it's 150 minutes. That's a lot of time for a lead that may never actually come to fruition. And don't forget about the little stuff like the CRM or the software you have to use to actually land that lead. You need to add up all of those things to find out your actual lead cost. So you know me, I want to do something practical in every single one of my videos. I want you to look at the last 5 leads you worked with. And then when you're looking at them, I want you to look at 3 different metrics. 1, I want you to write down how much money you spent to actually acquire them. 2, I want you to see how much time you spent following up with them. If you're using a CRM, you can see most of your conversations in there. Maybe you need to pull up on your phone and see how many times you talk to them. And the third thing is whether that actually turned into a closing. After that, you're going to calculate your per cost deal from that source. For example, if you spent $500 on pay-per-click ads and you got 10 leads and 1 lead closes, your real cost per deal is $500. And now you're finally going to know whether that lead source is profitable or not. In this section, we're going to talk about chasing leads versus calling the right people, because one of the biggest mistakes I see agents make when it comes to this is they're ignoring their highest probability for conversations. They're chasing cold strangers online when they should be talking to people in their sphere, following with past clients or referral vendors that send them business. Because guys, we know that sphere of influence people convert far better than cold, stale internet leads. But what you're doing is you're spending more time with the people that take longer to come to fruition, which is backwards. We need to stop chasing cold leads and start working with warm people first. And then once we exhaust the warm people, obviously we can go back and start working the cold leads. Here's a simple way that you can do a contact list that can help you be a little more intentional with how you're attacking it. And it's an ABC list, right? So I want you to open up your CRM or your phone, whatever you're using, right? Well, I want you to start using Follow Boss, but do what you want. And your first one's going to be your A list, immediate opportunities. People actively buying or selling, people asking real estate questions, warm referrals, referral partners, stuff like that. The next list is your B list. Those are future opportunities. your friends, past coworkers, neighbors, people who may move in the next 1 to 2 years based on circumstances. And see, those are your long-term contacts. That's everyone else in your network. So here's like a little rule I like to work by. You should spend about 70% of your daily conversations with your A and B list. And if you go back to one of our previous videos, we're talking about that 2-hour power session. This is where those come in. The 2-hour power session is for your A and B list. And those are people that are most likely to convert or give you a referral. And that simple shift dramatically increases your closings probability without needing more leads. The next thing I want to talk about is having a smart lead strategy. And this is where we spend money without leaking money. So the goal isn't to eliminate leads. Like some people, that's their whole business. At our company, I like to provide leads for our agents while they're having slow months or down months while they're building their book of business. But the goal is to invest in leads that actually produce predictable results. So instead of chasing every opportunity, evaluate each lead source as a simple lead ROI scorecard. And what I want you to do is write down every single lead source. I know I give you all a lot of homework. Guys, somebody's got to do this because nobody's probably taught you this stuff yet. I do this on a quarterly basis with all of our lead processes. I've got this nasty spreadsheet built out, and I score each of our lead sources on a scale of 1 to 5. And they go off of 4 factors. How expensive is this source? What's the close rate? How often do I convert a lead to an actual closing? How much time do we invest in the actual nurturement of this lead? How many times are we having to follow up with them? And then the fourth one is going to be following up on the complexity. How much effort does it require? For instance, there are some lead sources I've had in the past that they were pay-per-click. They were like one of the top 5 websites that show up based on that number, that name, or that wording, or whatever you want to say. And guess what? We knew statistically those people were going to be 12 to 18 months out. I've had agents in my office work with companies that work with retirees, like they focus on people retiring to the South. We have learned that statistically, those are going to take 2+ years because people are out there Googling, I want to retire to South Carolina. And they start doing that. Well, the website or the lead source pops up. And guess what? We get connected. But they're still 2 or 3 years out from retiring, from even wanting to put their house on the market because they've got a hard date before they can retire. But they start beating us up with questions. Where are the hospitals? Where should I look? What can you go look at this? Can I go look at that? And we know they're years away from making a decision. Or you've got places like Zillow and Realtor and Homes and all those people that actually provide warm leads, people that raise their hand and say, go show me that house. There's a big difference in that. There's also a big difference in cost. So just keep that in mind. The fourth thing I want you to look at is the lead sources with the highest total score are the ones worth keeping. Doesn't mean you do not work with the other lead sources. I do believe in diversifying, but you want to make sure you're putting your time into the horses that run the fastest. And then as you work those leads out or you run out of leads, go to the next level. So here's my last practical tip for this one. Set a monthly lead budget. It's a simple rule for new agents. It's going to sound something very basic, but you should never spend more than 10 to 15% of your expected commission on lead generation. If you do that, it'll keep your business profitable while still allowing you to grow and not spending all your money because they will quickly take all your money, offer you all these opportunities, and they don't always turn out. Guys, because at the end of the day, success in real estate isn't about chasing every single lead that shows up. It's about knowing where your time, your money, and your energy actually go to produce the closings. Once you understand this math, your business becomes a lot less stressful and it becomes a lot more predictable. So instead of chasing just one more lead, I want to encourage you to start measuring the return on the leads you already have. Track the last 5 deals, calculate your true cost per deal, and prioritize your conversations with people who actually like you and will probably buy and sell. That one exercise alone can completely change how you spend your time and your marketing dollars. And if you want a copy of my lead ROI scorecard, send me a DM and I'll be happy to send it to you. In the next episode, we're going to go even deeper with the real cost of being a real estate agent and how to plan for it. I'll be breaking down hidden fees, expenses, and financial realities most agents never plan for, so you can build a real estate business that actually pays you instead of slowly draining your income.